Disclaimer. This story contains mature themes intended for adult viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. She said it softly, almost like a warning, almost like a confession. You're too close. But her fingers were still curled around my sleeve, holding on, refusing to let the space between us return. And I could feel it, the trembling hesitation in her breath, the way her eyes wouldn't meet mine for more than a second before darting away like she was afraid of what I might see, or worse, what she might feel. So I leaned in, just enough for my whisper to brush her skin. Then why, I murmured, are you pulling me even closer? The air thickened instantly, charged with a tension neither of us had the courage to name. It was the kind that builds slowly, the kind that starts with a glance, grows with a touch, and becomes unavoidable the moment you realize you've stepped into something deeper than you ever intended. She wasn't just someone I met. She wasn't just someone passing through my life. She was the kind of person you notice once, and somehow you never stop noticing again. Her hand lingered on my arm as if she didn't trust herself to let go. The fading sunlight wrapped around her like a soft halo, warming the edges of a moment that should have been simple but wasn't. We were supposed to be careful. We were supposed to keep our distance. We were supposed to pretend that nothing simmered beneath the surface. But every time she stepped back, something pulled her forward again, and every time I tried to ignore the spark, she found a way to ignite it with just one look. Maybe it was timing. Maybe it was the weight of everything unsaid. Or maybe it was something neither of us could admit aloud. This quiet, forbidden gravity drawing us together even when logic begged us to step apart. She finally looked up at me, her eyes full of something unspoken, something fragile, something dangerously close to desire. I didn't touch her. I didn't need to. The moment itself was touching us both, pressing us toward a line we weren't sure we should cross. And then, she exhaled, barely audible, almost trembling. Don't move. But the real question was, what would happen if I didn't? She didn't move and neither did I. For a moment, it felt like the world had quieted around us. Not gone silent, just softer, as if it understood that something delicate was taking shape between us. Her fingers were still at my sleeve, not gripping now, just resting there, warm and hesitant. It was enough to pull me deeper into the gravity of her presence. You really shouldn't look at me like that, she whispered, her voice low, almost shaky. Like what? I asked even though I already knew. Like you're trying to read every thought I'm trying not to say. A faint smile tugged at the corner of her lips, the kind that betrayed more than she intended. Her eyes flicked away and then back again, unable to hold the contact without trembling, yet unwilling to lose it either. I stepped half a breath closer, not touching her, just letting the space between us shrink until it felt heavy with something unspoken. She felt it. I could tell from the way her breath caught, like she'd been caught doing something she shouldn't. But she didn't step back. You make it hard to think, she admitted softly, and you make it hard to stay away. There it was, the truth hovering between us, raw and dangerous. She swallowed, her throat tightening slightly. She wasn't used to being seen like this. Not guarded, not playful, just real. And for a second I wondered if that was the thing that scared her, or the thing that drew her in. Her hand slipped from my sleeve by accident, or maybe intentionally, brushing lightly against my wrist. The touch was brief, nothing dramatic, but it sent a quiet shock through both of us. She looked down at where our skin had met, as if memorizing the warmth lingering there. I shouldn't be feeling this, she murmured. Then why do you? I asked gently. She shook her head, eyes softening. Because you're here, and because every time you look at me like that, I forget what I'm supposed to be afraid of. I leaned in just enough for her to feel the warmth of my breath. Her eyes lifted slowly, drawn upward almost against her will. There was longing in them, pure, honest, and impossible to hide. We're getting too close, she whispered. Then tell me to step back. She didn't. She couldn't. And that silence was louder than anything she could have said. Her silence lingered between us, trembling at the edges, as if she was fighting herself more than she was fighting me. The golden light around us had shifted into something softer, darker. like even the sun understood the moment was becoming too intimate to witness directly. She stepped back half an inch, but her eyes, they didn't move away. They stayed locked on mine, full of a longing she kept trying and failing to hide. "I can't," she whispered, voice barely holding itself together. "You can't what?" I asked, softer than before. She shook her head, looking away for the first time, the tension breaking just enough for her to breathe. But even turned away, she didn't release the moment. Her fingers hovered at her side, trembling like they wanted to reach for me but didn't dare. She exhaled slowly, like the truth was pressing against her ribs. "You don't know everything about me," she murmured. "Then tell me," I said. Her jaw tightened. "If I do, you'll think I'm running." "Are you?" She hesitated, eyes flickering with something heavy. Fear. Maybe. Or maybe it was the weight of wanting something she wasn't sure she deserved. "I've walked away from things before," she admitted. "Things that felt dangerous, or too real, or too close." She swallowed. "And this, whatever this is, it feels like all three." I stepped closer, not touching her, but close enough that she could feel the heat of me. Close enough that she stopped breathing altogether for a second. Her lips parted slightly, not in invitation, but in the pure instinct of reacting to someone who stood exactly where she needed them, and exactly where she feared them. "Look at me," I said gently. She did. Slowly, reluctantly, completely. The world seemed to tilt. Her gaze pulled me in, soft and guarded and desperate all at once. I lifted my hand, moving slowly, giving her every chance to step away. She didn't. But just as my fingers brushed a single loose strand of hair near her cheek, she caught my wrist. Not pushing me away, not pulling me closer, just holding it there, suspended in the space where desire and restraint collided. "You shouldn't," she breathed. "You don't want me to stop," I said. Her eyes fluttered shut for a second, as if the truth stung. "I want too much," she whispered. "And that's the problem." She let go of my wrist, stepping back a single step. Just one. But it felt like a cliff between us. Her fingers curled into her palm as if holding herself in place. I took a breath, steady, controlled, fighting the instinct to close the distance again. "Then tell me how far I'm allowed to go," I whispered. She opened her eyes, and the longing in them hit like heat. Undeniable, unspoken, and dangerously real. "I don't know," she said softly. "But if you come any closer, I won't be able to stop myself." And that, her voice shaking, her desire trembling just beneath her control, was the closest thing to a confession she'd ever let slip. She stood there, breathing unevenly, as if every inhale pulled her closer to danger and every exhale pushed her farther from it. The space between us was no longer just space. It was a pulse, a heartbeat, a living thing that tightened and warmed with every second we hesitated. She kept her eyes on me, as if looking away might break something fragile, something we weren't ready to lose. "Why do you make this so hard?" she whispered. Her voice cracked, not with weakness, but with the weight of everything she'd been holding back. I took one slow step toward her. She didn't retreat this time. She didn't move at all, like her body had finally surrendered to feelings her mind still wrestled with. "I'm not trying to make anything hard," I murmured. "I'm just not pretending." Something flickered across her face. Relief, fear, desire, all tangled into one trembling moment. She lifted her hand just an inch, as if to reach for me, but stopped in midair. Her fingers curled slowly, holding on to nothing, yet touching everything inside me. "You don't understand," she said. "If I let myself—" She cut herself off, jaw tightening, breath shaking. "If you let yourself what?" I asked. She swallowed hard, her throat working as if the truth was too big to swallow and too dangerous to release. I stepped even closer, close enough for her to feel the warmth of my chest without me having to touch her. She closed her eyes for a moment, as if gathering courage she didn't want to admit she needed. When she opened them again, they were different, softer, darker, full of something raw and unguarded. "I keep telling myself to stay away," she said quietly. But every time you look at me like that, it feels impossible. My breath caught, not because of the words, but because of the way she said them, like they had been carved out of her. I lifted my hand slowly, giving her every chance to pull away. This time, she didn't just let me. She leaned into it. My fingertips brushed her jaw, barely there, but it felt like the world tilted on that one touch. Her eyes fluttered, her lips parting with a breath that trembled like she was standing on the edge of something she couldn't climb back from. "You feel it too," I whispered. She didn't answer. She didn't need to. Her forehead touched mine. Just lightly, just enough to send a rush through both of us that felt dangerously close to breaking. Her breath mingled with mine, warm and trembling. "I shouldn't," she murmured. "But you want to." Silence. Thick, electric, shattering. Then, barely audible, barely real. She breathed one trembling word against my lips, without touching them. "Stay." And everything inside me ignited. But we didn't cross the line. Not yet. We just hovered there, suspended in the final second before everything changes. The sky broke first. A soft drizzle began to fall, cool and delicate, turning the night air into something shimmering and alive. They were still standing close, too close to pretend anymore, too close to lie to themselves. The first drop touched her cheek, sliding down like a tear she hadn't cried. He reached up without thinking, brushing it away with the gentlest sweep of his thumb. She didn't flinch. She didn't hide. She simply breathed in, and the breath shivered between them. The rain grew steadier, tapping against leaves, softening the world around them until it felt like they were the only two people left in it. Her hair clung to her temples in loose, dark strands. His shirt slowly dampened. The air thickened with cool mist and warm longing. "You should go inside," he murmured. "I don't want to," she said. Her voice wasn't trembling now. It was steady, honest, stripped of every wall she had held up for too long. She looked at him like he was the thing she had been running from and the thing she had been running toward in equal measure. A rumble of thunder rolled in the distance. Low, deep, intimate. She stepped closer first. Not much. Just enough that her breath melted into his. Enough that he could see the raindrops catching the light in her lashes. Enough that her chest rose and fell against the edge of his, finding its rhythm in his warmth. And when her fingers slid up his arm, slow and uncertain, he felt every heartbeat she tried to hide. Her touch wasn't bold. It wasn't rushed. It was a confession made in inches instead of words. "I'm tired of pretending I don't feel this," she whispered. Her forehead brushed his cheek this time. Not accidental, not hesitant, just soft and deliberate. He closed his eyes, letting the warmth of her skin guide him. When he finally turned toward her, their noses grazed, featherlight, sparking something that felt dangerously close to surrender. Rain dripped from her chin to his. Her hand cupped the back of his neck, barely there, her thumb tracing the shape of him like she had been memorizing it in her mind long before tonight. His fingers slid to her waist, not pulling, just learning the shape of her in the dark. Their breaths tangled slow, warm, shaking with everything they still hadn't said. "You're shaking," he whispered. "So are you." He almost kissed her. But the moment stopped just before it happened, holding its breath. Instead, she buried her face against his shoulder, her lips brushing his skin in a way that wasn't a kiss but felt like one warm, trembling, full of something too big to name. He held her then, not tightly, just fully, completely, letting her body melt into his like she had finally stopped fighting gravity. The rain slicked their skin, the night wrapped around them, and their hearts found a rhythm neither could break. Her whisper came against his collarbone, soft and raw. "Don't let me go tonight." He didn't. He simply breathed her in, letting their bodies speak the words they couldn't say, letting the night cradle the moment they finally let go. Not in wildness, but in the quiet surrender of two people choosing each other with every heartbeat. And the world around them dissolved into rain, warmth, and the kind of closeness that didn't need to be seen to be understood. The morning didn't arrive gently. It slipped in through the half-opened curtains with pale light, quiet and honest, brushing against the room like a truth neither of them was ready to face. She woke first, not abruptly, just slowly, like someone returning from a dream they weren't sure they should have had. For a moment, she didn't move. She just breathed, the cool morning air settling around her. Her thoughts felt too loud, too clear, too fragile. The night before hadn't been chaos. It had been slow, trembling, full of emotion instead of impulse. And that made the impact heavier. She turned her head slightly. He was there, still dozing, his breathing soft, peaceful in a way that made her chest twist. One arm rested near her, close enough that she felt its warmth. Not touching but close enough to remember how it felt when it did. Her stomach tightened, not with regret, not with relief. Something in between, something deeper. She sat up slowly, careful not to wake him, brushing a strand of damp hair from her face. The rain outside had softened into a gentle morning drizzle, tapping rhythmically on the window. The world felt unbelievably quiet. Her fingers trembled as she pressed them to her lips, remembering the way his breath had melted into hers, the way her body had leaned into his like it belonged there. But now, light, clarity, reality, they felt like strangers sitting inside the same silence. He stirred behind her. "You're awake," he murmured, voice groggy, warm, unguarded. She stiffened. "Yeah, I didn't mean to wake you." "You didn't." There was something in his tone, gentle but searching, like he wasn't sure which version of her he'd find when she turned around. When she finally faced him, the look in his eyes almost broke her. He wasn't confused. He wasn't distant. He was careful, as if he was afraid to push too hard or speak too soon. "We should talk," she whispered, wrapping her arms around herself. "I know," he said softly, "but can you look at me when we do?" Her breath hitched. She wasn't sure she could. Before she could reply, a sudden knock echoed from the front door, sharp, unexpected, slicing through the fragile morning. They froze. She blinked, startled, panic flickering across her features. "Are you expecting someone?" he asked. She shook her head instantly. "No. No one knows I'm here." Another knock, firmer this time. Her heart pounded. He rose from the bed, confused but alert. She reached out, grabbing his hand without thinking, her voice barely a breath. "Please, don't let go yet." He squeezed her fingers, steady, grounding. Just as the door clicked open from the outside, everything changed in an instant. The door eased open as if pushed by hesitation itself. A woman stood in the frame, older, composed, eyes soft with a worry that didn't match her calm voice. "Sweetheart, you left without telling me." Her mother. The breath left her body all at once. She hadn't expected anyone to find her. Not here, not after a night that felt suspended outside the rules of her life. She rose slowly, still holding his hand, fingers intertwined like they weren't ready to return to the world yet. Her mother's gaze shifted between them, no judgment, no shock, only understanding. A deep, quiet understanding a mother sometimes carries without needing explanations. "I didn't mean to interrupt," she said gently. "It's okay," she whispered, though her voice trembled. He let go of her hand then, but only to step closer behind her, not hiding, not retreating. He placed a hand lightly on her back, steady but respectful, offering silent support rather than claiming anything he hadn't earned. Her mother nodded once, something like relief flickering through her eyes. "I'll wait outside. Take your time." When the door clicked shut again, the room inhaled. She turned to him, eyes glistening with emotions she didn't know how to name. Fear, hope, a dawning, fragile certainty. "I should go," she whispered. He nodded, but there was no pain in his expression, just something tender, patient. "And will you come back?" he asked softly. Her breath shook. "Do you want me to?" He stepped close enough for his forehead to touch hers the way it had the night before, not claiming her. Not pulling, not pushing, just meeting her where she was. "I want you to choose what brings you peace," he said. "If that's me, I'll stay right here." Her eyes closed. A tear slipped free, not from sorrow, but from the gentleness of being given space instead of pressure. She cupped his jaw, thumb tracing his cheekbone with a tenderness that felt like a promise. "I've been running from the wrong things," she whispered. "But last night, for the first time, I wasn't running. I was just with you." He kissed her forehead, slow, warm, lingering, like sealing a vow made of breath instead of words. "Then come back when you're ready," he murmured. She nodded against him, breathing him in one last time before stepping away. Slow, hesitant, but not breaking. At the doorway, she turned, eyes soft, voice steady. "You pulled me closer, even when I tried to stay away." A faint smile curved her lips. "And I want to let you." He didn't follow. He didn't have to. She walked toward her mother, carrying him with her like warmth in her chest. And the memory of that night, rain, breath, trembling honesty, stayed between them like a quiet, glowing promise. If this story pulled you closer, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay for the next chapter.